Welcome to Anime Recap. Imagine having a case of social anxiety that is so strong that it leaves you unable to speak out loud with anyone even though you want nothing more than to chat and make friends. Today, we will go through the anime Komi Can't Communicate, a comedy and slice of life anime based on an extremely popular manga written by Tomohito Oda. This video may contain heavy spoilers, so proceed with caution. Hitohito Tadano meets Shouko Komi, a beautiful but quiet girl, on their first day at Itan Private High School. Due to her looks and quiet demeanor, Komi automatically becomes popular while Tadano becomes universally hated due to being assigned the desk next to hers. Tadano accidentally finds himself alone with Komi, who almost runs away when he talks to her, causing him to realize she actually suffers from severe social anxiety. As she cannot talk to people, Tadano suggests she write on the chalkboard and she is able to communicate that she wants to speak normally, but is unable to because of said anxiety. She apologizes for wasting Tadano's time and tries to leave, only for Tadano to write his own message on the board for her, allowing her to have her first real conversation with a friend. She reveals her dream is to make 100 friends and Tadano, now becoming her first one, promises to help find the other 99. The next morning, it is revealed the entrance exam for their school was a personality interview, meaning it is full of weirdos, loners, miscreants, and eccentrics. As such, the task will be harder than Tadano thought. Tadano introduces Komi to Najimi Osana, his childhood friend who has the habit of switching their gender. Due to moving schools frequently, Najimi is the childhood friend of absolutely everybody. However, Najimi reveals they failed to become Komi's friend years ago, the shock of failure leaving them with difficulty being around Komi to this day, though they do agree to walk Komi home. Tadano follows the two and sees that even Najimi struggles to have a conversation with Komi. Najimi is approached by the delinquent Ma, another childhood friend, who confesses his love. Najimi switches back to being male to reject him, but Ma is determined. Komi attempts to speak, but her stammering speech and unblinking stare convince Ma she is an assassin and he flees. Najimi decides to be Komi's friend for real. Najimi begins eating lunch with Tadano and Komi, making Tadano even more unpopular. Tadano explains about Komi's desire for friends, so Najimi sends Komi to get a complicated coffee order by herself, claiming it is training to force Komi to speak. Despite several attempts, Komi gets the wrong coffee and cries, forcing Tadano and Najimi to apologize, though they both consider Komi's sulking cute. Himiko Agari struggles to communicate and panics when Komi begins following her. Najimi advised Komi to befriend Agari since they both struggle with communication. Agari later thanks Komi for scaring her as it made it easier to communicate with her classmates. In gratitude, she decides to become Komi's lapdog. Komi buys her first phone and is determined to ask everyone for their numbers. She manages to get Najimi's number, but Agari's lapdog routine puts her off from asking. Asking for Tadano's number is even more awkward when Agari accidentally ruins the moment. Komi is elected class president against her will. Sensing her reluctance, Najimi instead has Komi voted class goddess, while the more difficult role of president goes to Tadano with Najimi as vice president. Komi accidentally calls Tadano, leading to her awkward first phone call, which both she and Tadano are proud of achieving. Komi is intrigued by the games played by popular students, so Najimi invites her to join. However, everyone lets Komi win due to her popularity. Tadano sabotages the second game to spare Komi an embarrassing moment, adding to his unpopularity, but he is happy when Komi thanks him for helping her have fun. During physical exams, Makri Yadano, who hates to lose, is determined to beat Komi. Komi wins by having better eyesight, being taller, and weighing less. Yadano decides a physical exam proves nothing and insists the exam is a draw. Tadano scores completely average on the exam. Renyame, a popular girl, is obsessed with Komi and forces Najimi to introduce them. Tadano wakes up in Yame's bedroom, Yame having kidnapped him to keep him away from Komi. Najimi asks if she and Komi can visit Yame's house and she agrees. Najimi finds Tadano in a closet, forcing Yame to reveal her belief she would make a better friend than Tadano. She is shocked when Komi rejects her in favor of Tadano. Komi blames herself for what happened and asks if Tadano will still be her friend, even speaking out loud to him. Najimi brings Yame to give a confusing apology for her actions. Komi decides Yame can know about her social anxiety. Yamei is shocked to learn the truth, but decides being unable to speak just makes Komi even cuter and will help her find 100 friends. After a brief hesitation, Komi decides Yamei can be her friend too. Komi is somehow even more attractive in her summer uniform. Tadano is determined to beat Komi during fitness tests, but loses yet again. Komi is unable to shake her hand, so Tadano becomes even more determined to beat her. Najimi asks to visit Komi's house, and they meet her very outgoing mother, Shouko. Najimi leaves Komi and Tadano alone together, but is disappointed that nothing happens. Najimi finds Komi's childhood photo album. Najimi sends Komi photos of their visit, which Komi saves in a photo frame. Komi asks to visit a ramen shop, so Agari takes everyone to ramen daro. There, Komi manages to follow all the unspoken rules perfectly, causing the customers and chef to greatly admire her. Amoharu Nakanaka, a chainibai, claims Komi is Princess Camellia, her friend from a previous life. Tadano remembers acting similarly in middle school. Realizing Nakanaka is lonely, Komi volunteers to be Nakanaka's gym partner. Najimi takes Tadano's umbrella and leaves a note, so Komi and Tadano share hers. She notices that he let his shoulder get wet to give her more cover. At a convenience store, Tadano realizes that Komi read Najimi's note and waited for him so they could share hers. Komi attempts to tell a joke, but having never told one before, has no situational humor or comedic timing. Tadano is similarly bad at joke telling, but Komi is impressed anyway. Komi has never been clothes shopping before, so everyone picks out clothes they think will suit her. Komi ends up buying a dress chosen by Tadano. Komi goes to a beauty salon. Maki Karasu, the owner, knows Komi and can understand her, whereas her trainee, Kamikawarai, thinks Komi's silence is a criticism of her customer service skills, until Komi manages to thank her. The next day, only Tadano notices her haircut, making Komi happy. Komi cannot sleep due to her overthinking about her failed conversations throughout the day, but eventually falls asleep thinking about Tadano helping her. Najimi asks for help studying, but grows bored. After making too much noise in the school library, Najimi is punished by the assistant librarian. Everyone passes their exams, including Najimi. Tadano is furious Komi scored higher than her on every exam. Over the summer, both Komi and Tadano spend the first week feeling lonely but are too nervous to call each other. Najimi unknowingly solves the problem by inviting them both to go swimming at the pool. Despite feeling nervous, Komi makes it to the pool on time and wears the dress Tadano chose. Komi only owns a school swimsuit, so Yamei forces her to buy a bikini. Komi later trips and scrapes her knee. Unable to enter the water, Komi sits alone. Tadano makes her feel better and pulls her into a shallow pool to keep her bandage dry, then panics when he realizes he held Komi's hand. After ending the day with a water gun fight, everyone heads home. Komi decides to visit the library. Her father, who is also bad at communicating, goes with her and they get shaved ice. Through mostly nonverbal communication, they manage to talk about Komi's school life. Komi finds a book but is too scared to ask to borrow it, so she decides to read it. When her stare scares a baby, she manages to cheer him up. Tadano, who is also at the library, watches happily from nearby and forgets to return his own books. Komi goes to the park and has fun while she is alone. A passing Tadano is awed by her beauty and again forgets to return his books. Komi and her family visit their relatives. Despite being uneasy at first, Komi and her cousin Akira bond and play together. Komi is later summoned by her grandmother Yuiko to update her on her life. However, when asked if she likes a boy, Komi shakes nervously, which alerts her grandmother, who immediately discovers Tadano's name on her phone. Komi and Tadano are invited by Najimi to a summer festival. Komi gets anxious, as she has forgotten to bring something to write on, prompting Tadano to say that he will help her. They visit some of the various stands and games, in which Komi beats Tadano in a shooting game and wins a video game console. Komi later manages to verbally compliment Tadano's look. While waiting for their friends, Komi writes with a stick that she really enjoyed her time alone with Tadano, only to quickly erase it before he can see it. Komi, Najimi, and Yamei visit Tadano's home, where they meet Tadano's sister, Hitomi. There, they reminisce about how much fun they had during the summer. They notice Komi crying as she explains she actually does not want the summer to end for the first time. The semester after summer vacation begins. No Koko Inaka is distressed because she is from the countryside. After overhearing that Komi is going to buy Najimi a sandwich, she follows her to learn how to order food like a city girl. Nakanaka invites Komi to hang out at her house. Nervous at having Komi at her house by herself, she invites Najimi, who brings along Tadano. They play a video game, and Tadano manages to teach Komi how to play. On their day off, Najimi asks Komi and Tadano to help distribute tissues in a retail store. Despite a difficult start, Komi becomes more confident when she finally manages to give a tissue to the woman and distributes the whole box by the end of the day. Tadano shows up in class with a seed stuck on his face, but Komi is too nervous to tell him. After realizing that he calls Najimi by their first name, she asks him to call her by her first name too. Tadano is unable to do so. When told by Najimi to also call Tadano by his first name to set the example, Komi, embarrassed, fails at doing so as well. The school holds its annual sports day where Komi meets Chika Netsuno, a highly competitive second-year student. After several events, Komi takes part in the relay race against Netsuno. She slips and falls, but encouragement from her friends enables her to continue running and finish in second place. Oblivious to the result of the race, Komi's friends come to her aid, much to Netsuno's delight. Komi experiences jealousy for the first time as fellow classmate Nino Nemen is helping Tadano with his excessive class president duties. One evening, Onemen is helping Tadano before Komi arrives and offers her help, which Tadano accepts. Sensing Komi's affection towards Tadano, Onemen leaves the two of them alone. Onemen later befriends Komi and apologizes for interfering. Komi goes to a mall photo booth with her friends, much to her delight. In an arcade, Tadano sees a cat Kaikane in a claw game and wins it for Komi. 3 days later, he wants to give it to her at school, but she already got one, so they exchange them. Komi arrives home from school, where she holds on to Tadano's Kaikane tightly. Komi's class is undecided about what they want to do for the upcoming culture festival. Komi quietly confides to Tadano that she would like to do a maid cafe. The whole class hears this and immediately agrees. Onemen and Kidodori, another girl from Komi's class, are entrusted with getting the materials for the festival. Odori asks Komi to help them, which she agrees. Afterwards, Komi reveals to Odori that she had always felt useless to her classmates back in middle school, and felt really happy when she asked her for help. Komi, Najimi, and Tadano distribute flyers for the festival. Komi nervously hands them to people they have met, including the mother of the baby she befriended at the library. The girls, including Komi and Najimi, surprise the boys with onigiri. When Komi realizes Tadano picked the one she made, she is elated, which Onemen notices. Komi, Najimi, and Tadano dress as maids during the festival. While the boys feel uncomfortable around Tadano, Komi responds positively to his new look, as she thinks he looks adorable. Tadano is later made fun of by Hidemi, who takes a picture of him to show their mother. At the festival, Najimi decides to use shady tactics in order to attract more customers. However, they are caught and forced to provide refunds. Komi, Tadano, and Najimi later visit a haunted house and the school's rooftop confessions before Najimi is dragged away by the meditation club. Komi and Tadano then hang out with Onemen and Dodori by visiting the various stalls and activities. In the gymnasium, Komi's class is announced as the winners of the festival. However, thanks to Najimi's actions, they are not awarded the grand prize. Everyone later gathers for the dance party. Komi wishes to dance with Tadano, who nervously tries to lead to the way. They are then joined by an enthusiastic Najimi. After the festival, Komi's class head to a karaoke bar. There, Komi receives praise for her singing, even though she was too nervous to actually do so. When it is Tadano's turn, he is ignored by almost everyone except Komi, which gives him the motivation needed to finish. Later at her house, Komi cherishes the friends she has made so far. Komi Can't Communicate comes very close to being a perfect show. Everything it managed to accomplish in its short 12-episode runtime was mind-blowing, and there are literally no complaints that wouldn't count as nitpicking. Komi Can't Communicate Season 2 Episode 1 is now airing, bringing with it a whole new season's worth of shenanigans, comedy, wholesome moments, and a blossoming romance. You can go to watch it now. See you in the next video. Bye.